all heavy rain would break out every single day. Sometimes it didn't. Well, they moved when the dry season came down there. So help me, we moved to the northern part of Vietnam, and we were in it again. But I mean, it wasn't always raining every day, but it was miserable. You had mosquitoes up there that could pick up a dog. I mean, it was big old. And then you never, you would see a snake. Without exaggeration, you'd see 3 or 4 snakes every single day, without any exaggeration. Most were non-poisonous, but you had cobras and crate snakes. You had another snake called a bamboo viper. They were kind of greenish, but they were just had a bad temperament and were pissed off all the time. And they'd bite you, but they're about like a copperhead. The crate snake was just about this big, and it was one of the most poisonous snakes in the world. A cobra snake was very docile. I mean, you could see a cobra and you'd say, howdy, and just go on, not pay any attention to it. Just, it's a snake, maybe it's a cobra. I mean, you couldn't tell if they were gray cobras. And I had this guy, Jim Knight, who had pet rattlesnakes in his basement at home with his parents fed them. I mean, he loved snakes, and he still does. He's the curator of the Natural Museum in South Carolina. He's got a pretty big job, and he'd pick up cobras and crate snakes. He'd just pick up all these snakes, just like the alligator man. He'd pick up snakes, and it just didn't bother him at all. And I was always amused because I stood far enough away from him, but it was interesting watching how he handled these snakes, and he was very comfortable with it. He was one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm. So he lives in South Carolina?
Yeah, and we see each other a couple of times a year.
Okay, what was your job responsibility while you were in the service?
We were basic, when I was in Vietnam, up until the point of Vietnam, after I got out of OCS, I was a training officer in a basic training company. And then I went to Vietnam, and I became a rifle platoon leader, which you have about 35 men under you, and you're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen in your area of responsibility.
What was your rank then?
I was first lieutenant. Well, I started off there as second lieutenant, but it's just customary, unless you're really bad, you become first lieutenant after 1 year. And after 2 years, you become captain. I mean, it's just kind of automatic type of thing.
What was your final rank when you...
First lieutenant. The day I was to become captain was the day I decided I'd get out.
Okay. What were you doing when you heard you could go home from the war, from Vietnam?
Well, I knew when I'd go home.
Did you have a calendar where you marked your days off?
No, it made it go too slow. I just didn't think about it. And then they said, Brame, you go tomorrow. I said, okay.
How did you leave? Did they fly you to...
A helicopter comes in, picks you up, and takes you back to, like division headquarters. Then they check you out there. Then you go to Cameron Bay. I think there's 2 or 3 points of debarkation, but
flew back?
Flew back.
What was homecoming like when you got back?
My father-in-law had a place much smaller, but it was kind of like East Coast millwork, and he had a lot of plywood and stuff, and he wrote on it, "Welcome home, Daddy," because The day I got a little teeny piece of shrapnel in my knee was the day my son was born. And I mean, I can always, every time he has a birthday, is anniversary of my bad knee. And anyway, he had Welcome Home Daddy. And, you know, I saw my son for the first time. And really just didn't know how to act. And I was very hawkish. I mean, you know, everybody in the United States, oh, we ought not to be in Vietnam, just raising Cain. And I was so mad at people not supporting the troops. And then here 40 years later, I'm one of those people that hate us being over in Iraq. And my attitudes have just changed. I guess all of our attitudes have changed. But I guess it's part of growing up and getting old and dying.
Had you already asked that beautiful lady, Sheila, to marry her before you went in the service?
Oh, we were married, and she was pregnant. I wanted to make sure I left her pregnant, just to leave a little seed behind if I got killed. And I was pretty sure I'd be killed. But that was it.
Okay, how did the humor help you get through the service?
I think humor has gotten me through life. I mean, I think you and I both have about the same type of feelings about humor. And I can remember, I don't want to put it on tape, some of the stuff I did to my men as an officer, which I probably big court-martial.
This will be shown to the kids in high school.
Yeah.
So they told me I had to clean it up. So.
Yeah. But one of the things we did that I can talk about is we pick up a rock, you know, about kind of round. We played football with it. And I won't tell you, I mean, you know, you have a little patch out in the opening, probably smaller than this room. And I mean, we played bloody football. And I can remember we captured this. I got a great story to tell you. During the monsoon season, we captured this very strong-looking NVA soldier. And he was, you know, they're much smaller than we are, but he was built like a tank, not fat, but just very muscular, had a real square head, and this artillery officer, who I won't name, was started throwing him over his shoulder and everything, and I told him to stop it. I said he was my prisoner, and I mean, I think he kind of understood I was going to shoot him if he kept torturing him that way. And I kept him, and we were back in an area where we had sandbags over for that night, which was a safe area. And we taught that guy how to play poker. It's this fellow sitting behind me. We were pretty close friends. And nobody would call me Rick or Brame. They called me Lieutenant. Hey, Lieutenant, so-and-so. Well, anyway, we taught him how to play poker, or didn't quite teach him. This fellow that was behind, he was a black fella, and a real neat guy. And he would kind of play his card. Well, this guy, the artillery officer, wanted to play poker with us, so I let him play with poker. Well, at the end, you know, artillery officer got mad because, and we were playing with military script. Did you ever hear that? Well, anyway, was playing with military script, which was just like Monopoly money to us. You know, you couldn't spend it, it wasn't anything to buy. But anyway, he won. This guy won the money. And
which guy is that?
The one we captured?
Prisoner.
Yeah. And the artillery officer got mad. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. He said, I'm just going to kill him and get my money back. And I said, you can kill him, but if you do, I'll kill you. And this black fella who we loved each other, he said, if you kill the lieutenant, I'll kill him, sir. I'll kill him. And, you know, he got mad, went on out of the bunker. And, I mean, you know, people talk that way. I mean, it's amazing how violent you talk. I mean, I didn't see anybody kill anybody because they got mad, Americans. But anyway, the next day I told my company commander, I said, look, I said, we can't dust him off because it's raining too hard. I don't want to have to keep him. I said, I just want to turn him loose. He said, go ahead. Just don't tell anybody I said it, okay? Or something, you know, something to that amount. Well, we all went out raining. Got out there in the rice paddy. And we said,
I'm sorry, I need to get you back up.
didn't even know Mike was up there. Anyway, I said, DD Mal, which means go away. And you know, he started backing up and kind of like probably cussing us, like blah, 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 you know, I don't know what he was saying. And then Jim Knight, this snake guy, he said, Lieutenant, he said, I think he thinks we're going to kill him. He said, Lieutenant, tell everybody to stand on their rifles. Now, it was muddy. I mean, I didn't brush my teeth. I kept my toothbrush for my rifle. That's how clean we kept our rifle. And anyway, I said, all right. So we stood on our rifles. He kept backing up. We kept standing on our rifles. Kept backing up and backing up.
What does stand on the rifle mean?
Well, it'd be hard to pick them up and clean them and fire them.
Okay,
It gives him a fighting chance. We're going to give you a fighting chance, you know. We're going to make a sport out of this. That's how we communicated to him. He kept backing up and backing up and backing up. And it was an old rice paddy. An old rice paddy is just dried ground, okay, that used to be a rice paddy maybe centuries ago. And, you know, not too much growing it. Well, he started running. But he backed up, you know, probably 50 yards, and he thought, well, you know, I've got a chance now. He turned around and started running, just really getting it. And I saw him look back once or twice. We were still standing on our rifles. And he got over, there's kind of a hill, you know, where he could go out of sight. And he got to the top of the hill, which was well over 100 yards. And he waved to us. And then he was gone. Well, I want to tell you, my platoon for this was in Duck Pho, the Duck Pho area in Vietnam. My platoon never had another shot fired at it the entire time we were there. And when I found out, and it was the hottest area in Vietnam at the time, everybody was having combat every day. And Rick Brame's platoon, nothing. Now, it can't be a coincidence. It might be. But when they moved us on up near Da Nang, I mean, all of us were sick because we knew we were going to be in for it again, which we were.